ahead and welcome back to the First Alert Desk on our latest installation of Money Talk, where we bring on a Northwestern Mutual financial expert to break down some financial tips that we could use, especially as we head into February. And speaking of February, hiring season is underway, and with a new year means possibly a new job for a lot of people. And to talk to us about that today is Northwestern Mutual financial representative Nicole Garner Scott. Now, Dr. Garner Scott, I want to talk about really breaking this down for me. What is hiring season?
So typically, well, first off, thank you for having me on. It's always such a pleasure. But in regards to hiring season, usually there's better times of the year to start applying for jobs, better times when there's a direct impact on hiring season. So usually when we're looking at the top of the year, after that first 2 weeks when people are just kind of warming back up, it's really great to start applying again. I know recently in the news, we've seen a lot of changes with a lot of different companies. And so really kicking off the new year with when that attention's there, when HR departments are very focused on that part to make sure that your resume is up to date and that you're in that fold of that search.
And I know you're here to talk to us a little bit about the best tips on how to approach that, especially for people who are looking to take that next step. You know, we talk about inflation being top of mind for a lot of folks out there, and with that, looking for those job opportunities that could give them that financial up that they need in life. So when you are looking for that new job, and maybe you're currently still at your same position, what is the first thing that you need to sit down and consider?
I would say the first thing is to determine what does better look like for you. I think that um, there has to be a lot of intentionality in this job market as far as, what you're looking for the long run, what makes a better environment for you. Does it match where you are at this current stage in your life? And so really taking that time to figure out what do you define as better? What makes this career or this career transition more applicable to where you are in life right now? Sometimes, individuals will be like, well, anything is better than what I have right now. But then that's when you'll get anything. That's when anything will come onto the plate. So you have to decide, are you looking for a hybrid environment where you get to work from home part-time? Are you looking for a strong track record of career advancement? What is it specifically that will define better for you?
And I know there's a lot of anxiety surrounding going after that a dream job, or really putting yourself out there in such a vulnerable way. And that really comes out when we talk about money. What are some things that job seekers can keep in mind when trying to engage with a potential employer about that money conversation?
I think that we're in a better space, just society overall, where money conversations aren't as taboo. And given that the job seeker is empowered with so much more real-time information through social media platforms, through LinkedIn, through so many different things, you can see what the average going salary is for the job that you're seeking or for that industry. You're able to find individuals that work at that company and get their experience and, get insight on how they broker their deal in regards to that. So there's so much more information that's available to individuals that it just makes much more for a transparent conversation in that process.
And I'm glad you brought that word up, transparency. I think that's really important when you're talking about advocating for yourself, because it is often a two-way street between the employer finding a good fit and the employee just trying to make sure that they're secured both financially and professionally. So navigating that relationship, what is some things that one group can keep in mind about the other?
That definitely is a mutual relationship. I think in earlier generations, the power laid with the employer itself. But given, just where we are economic wise, et cetera, it's a two-way street. It has to be a mutually beneficial relationship for both parties. And for employers that are looking for retention and, wanting their talent to stay with them for quite some time, there has to be a lot more communication. It has to really work into the lifestyles of all that's involved. So really opening that beginning station to being a lot more transparent, having those conversations, understanding what will work for the specific individual in front of you, and not necessarily making it so generic across the board.
Well said. And we talk about that job hunt, that next step, often aligning with research, which shows that it is a great way to accelerate the process of increasing your pay over time. With that in mind, with somebody stepping out into the hiring season, into this job hunt at a year like this, with inflation, with money being a big issue for people, what are some things that they could leverage with a new employer? And I know that largely depends on their personal situation, but anything that they can keep in mind as they head into that adventure.
I think one area that does not get addressed enough is really doing your research and understanding the macroeconomic trends that are taking place. So, what's happening in the news with this industry specifically? Is this a good time to enter into this field? What's happening with this company overall? Really digging deeper into understanding their bonus structure, understanding benefits, understanding how that applies to your life. Where do you see yourself, 10 years from now? So not just making a decision on the first opportunity that comes your way, because that might not align with who you are in the future. One thing that I love to do with clients is is having them do a grid. What works for you now? What works for the future you now? What works for your family or other people you co-financially plan with now? And what works for the future version of you? And filling that out and understanding that your decision has long-term impacts and what makes the most pleasurable decision for the future version of yourself and your family as well.
And we're talking with Northwestern Mutual Financial Representative Dr. Nicole Garner Scott about the hiring season and making the most of your money this year. Now, as we have this conversation, a lot of people who have the privilege of having a financial representative such as yourself, what are some things that you hear, some common concerns and misconceptions from, like, for example, your clients around hiring season, securing that new job?
Um, I definitely feel like there has to be an understanding of uh, uh, being realistic on where you stand in the job market. So if there's opportunity to level up your skill set during that time, knowing, especially recently, just with a lot of senior talent going back into the hiring stage, who, and that's kind of flooding out that hiring curve right now, understanding that, if you were in maybe like the tech space or whatnot, who is also applying for these jobs alongside of you, and it might be a opportunity where you say, hey, I need to go back and level up skill set because now I'm going, against individuals who were senior level, 20, 30 years in their careers. And so making it make sense, also figuring out what makes you stand out in this type of economy. What is something that you bring to the table that either causes innovation, it brings a fresh pair of eyes. It brings a new level of understanding. I think many companies value that a lot more. It's a day and age in the corporate sector or in the job sector where just being able to bring something new to the table is holds weight when you're in your job application process. So highlighting that and showing how you really are able to lead the charge in that area or be an authority.
And I feel like that advice can definitely be echoed to the newer generation of job seekers who are, going in with not a lot of experience, but a lot of heart and commitment that companies can appreciate in this hiring season. All right, so we're talking with Dr. Nicole Garner Scott, a financial representative with Northwestern Mutual, about hiring season, securing that job, and negotiating your pay. Now, I want to make sure we didn't leave anything out in this conversation. Top tips, final thoughts for my job seekers out there as they navigate 2023.
I would say top tips. Once again, heavily doing your research. There's just so much that's open out there that you can find out a lot and not just have to depend on the information that's emailed to you and just those few bullet points. There's just so much that you can pull from. I think it's an excellent time to tap into your resource circle. Talk with your advisor. Go over the benefits package that's being offered to you and see what that really means. I find that a lot of individuals, they're just like, great, these are the benefits. This is what happens. This is what I get. I have no idea what that truly means. So spend that time with your resource circle, with your team, your financial team, and understand how that plays a role for you. And then determine what area and what stage of life you're in, because some of the things that you might need to renegotiate on play a role of where you are in life. Is it 10 more years before you retire? Then maybe some of these things don't matter, while other parts have a large impact on where you see yourself, second half of life. So understanding some of those different pieces will be very key.
And I think you bring that refreshing reminder that oftentimes we have a passion for the work we do, but we forget to look towards our financial future. And that's an important thing to keep in mind, especially when you get opportunities where you can enter a new job title, a new pay range for yourself. So Dr. Nicole Garner Scott, I really appreciate your time as always and your expertise. All of these tips that we just talked about and more, as well as a full link to Northwestern Mutual where you can connect with a financial advisor, is going to be on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.